Welcome back, fellow armchair generals, to the more detailed and rich world of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.52. I say that because I noticed my viewership seems to be a bit down yesterday, with everybody, I presume, watching various streams of Hearts of Iron 3. And as you will note, at least from what I've been looking at, and I can comment on what I've seen, it doesn't seem that Hearts of Iron 4 is nearly as detailed and rich as Black Ice. So, and that's very, very much so. Okay, well, let's continue this. Recently, and the reason I'm commenting about what I saw just yesterday is that... major victory. Where did we get a major victory? Out towards Penzance. The Pirates of Penzance. Yes, I know. I think I said that earlier. The Gilbert and Sullivan play. Very model of a modern major general. If you've heard that. Very model of a modern major general. And no, I'm not singing it. I'm humming or whatever. That was, like I said, Gilbert and Sullivan. Talking about General Wolseley. In the latter part of the 19th century is where that term comes from, because he was fighting with some of his superiors over modernizing the British Army. I know I may have just a lot of trivia in my head here that it doesn't really mean anything to most people. No. But to me, at least, all this is a big tapestry of history and things and inner relations. Because, okay, many of you have seen in the streams, and I got to talk about it that way. One of the, I guess, national spirits, as you would call it, of Germany, when you start out Hearts of Iron 4, is Bitter Loser. And that has several effects, and not really so concerned about the game effects, but it is very true in that they were the bitter losers of World War I. So it made the German General Staff, though still a very conservative organization, much, much, much more open to innovations. You get like General Weber. He was an army general. He switched over to the Luftwaffe, taught himself to fly because he saw, I would say correctly, but maybe not as big as they thought at the time, the importance of air power. And being, I'm generally a good German general, World War I veteran. Don't think he was maybe a general in World War I, but officer in good standing and experience. He saw, hey, there's this new thing, let's go do it. It's air power. And it's going to be very important. And of course, a bit of a maverick within the establishment, but you have like Guderian, who used Liddell Hart's, and JFC Fuller's work in England to build the Panzer armies, which was resisted by the German High Command. They saw them more as cavalry units. The infantry goes into an attack, wins, and then the Panzers take off and surround and cut up the enemy. But still, it's something that happened where Charles de Gaulle, in towards a professional army, I guess is the English translation of his book. And he was also, I believe, a colonel at the time, was utterly rejected by the French government, and they didn't start building their first armored divisions until well into the start of World War II. Their tanks organizations were infantry support, spread all over the place, because and I know I've talked about this before, France built probably I would say undoubtedly the best army to win World War I. Ended up using that army to fight World War II, which it was utterly unprepared for. So the victors, sometimes yes, sometimes no, but generally yes, figure out why they won and build an army to do that again. Now, if you've had no revolution in arms, then it's a good thing because you figured out a winning format and you just keep doing it because it works. Armies are very traditional that way. Most armies don't want to change anything until they determine it doesn't work anymore. Just the way they work. So back to the England, because we're playing England, you had Wellington, who defeated Napoleon with a smaller force. And Wellington won most all of his battles. Mostly, they weren't ever against Napoleon himself, even when Napoleon did come down into Spain. That's where he fought most of them. And down here, during that time, Wellington had been recalled to England over controversies with other commanders and why everything was going wrong. It wasn't Wellington's fault, it was the other one's fault. But still, the other generals. Wellington developed, and he knew it was going to be a smaller professional army than, say, France or other large major European powers, continental powers, going to be a smaller army, but he knew how to win battles, and he developed the army that, he won in Waterloo. And that very much typified England for a long period. Wellington was a Indian Army general, if you will. Now let's send you up here. And so he came out of that background, which was looked down upon by many of the horse guards, which is their equivalent of the Pentagon at the time, as well as the that's what the building's called, but as well as like the guards regiments and the elites in the British Army looked down upon these guys over in India as, you're just fighting a bunch of primitive savages. If you ever had to fight a real war with a real enemy, you're going to lose. Well, Wellington came in with his strategies that he developed in India and beat the greatest professional army in the world at the time, Napoleon's, even before it was shattered in Russia. And so he knew how the Indian Army system worked, but it became, after Wellington's time in India, though it had already started during Wellington's period, it became more rigid, shall we say. I think that would be a good term for it. It became more rigid. A little bit maybe still in Wellington's time, but before Wellington's time, a lot of the officers in the Indian Army, and I'm talking about, gotta, when you're talking about the Indian Army, sometimes that's sort of the British Army in India post the Sepoy rebellion. If I got this right, most sort of brigades had one battalion of English Army soldiers from an English Army regiment, with all their own officers, all their own stuff, stationed and brigaded with 2 regiments of local Indian troops, so as to no longer have large formations of all Indians, have them mixed that way. And so you had regular English Army troops sent out to India for extended periods of time, not just a few years, a short year or two, but often extended periods of time, and it varied. Brigaded with the Indian troops. And so when is this Indian Army and when is it the sort of, so you had British units out there with the Indian Army, and then before you had it was the sort of the army of the East India Company element that did have Europeans in it, and for a while they were the Europeans were locally raised Europeans raised in India. And that was one thing, and then they did also at times send out regular British Army units, so that there were, but they also had a lot of regular British Army officers that were, say, a lieutenant that, hey, if you come temporarily leave your permanent your home regiment, come and serve in this, we'll make you, or permanently come and serve in this, we'll make you a captain or a major for free often. You had to buy, in the old days, you had to buy your commissions. You know, come on out in here. So you had properly trained people coming and leading locals. Well, like I was saying before, the sort of Wellington period, there were a lot of Indian officers in the British East India Company, and that continued and was still going on, I do believe, during Wellington's time in India. But by the 1850s or so and onward, it basically became all officers were British, European. I always say that they're Scots, Irish, English, Welsh, whatever, or quite possibly Canadian or other peoples, but of British descent in there. And I think, I think it varied from regiment to regiment. A lot of the senior NCOs were again Europeans, British. They weren't generally mercenaries in that they weren't some Germans or Spanish or Italian. They were all a type of British people, but of European descent. Some going on around there, I don't know, half castes, meaning European Indian mix, but in some of those units, and including some officers, were going on, but it became much more regimented, if you will, in that Indians, even Indians of talent and education, couldn't rise beyond a certain NCO rank in most of the units. Now I say this in that realize that at this time, this is an entirely inaccurate portrayal of India, okay, people? Just if you know, I know there's a lot of controversy over, this should all be China, 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 and not these other little names of places. Well, sort of a game mechanic that most of these, if you will, warlords had more or less come under the idea of a unified central Chinese government idea, but they were still locally powerful. And when Chiang Kai-shek, send me 10 divisions to go fight the Japanese, 4 or 5 might show up and have like no supporting artillery and only at 40 or 60% strength or whatever, and that the generals were locally powerful, kept their better troops at home. So it wasn't quite the warlord era of like the 20s and the sort of Chinese Civil War that this sort of portrays, but it wasn't, all these we get to send all the best units to go fight the Japanese or something like that. So it's sort of a mechanic. Well, India was a hodgepodge of locally ruled states that were functionally independent, and so long as they didn't go too far out of bounds, they can do whatever they want to. And then others that were ruled sort of indirectly through the East India Company, and as time went on, more and more of those were ruled by direct British mandate government as opposed to company mandate. And even within all that, there were different rules in different regions. And I was just before, and I know I'm sidetracking again. I do this a lot. Sorry, I know you guys, many of you want to see more action here, but I know in the earlier days of the East India Company period, there were basically 3 local armies, one based up here out of Madras, one over out of here out of Pendakari here, or not, it's the French, but Madras. Did I say Madras up here? Calcutta, yeah, Calcutta up here. Madras, which I know it says a port here, I don't know what the port was like at the time, but earlier, this was a major trading port, there weren't no ports. Again, I'm going another divergent. There were boats that you literally surfed in onto the beach and landed the stuff onto the beach and pulled up on low bottom boats, and so everything came in via the surf, and then it would be taken back out to the ships via that way. And so the Madras establishment, and then there was the Bombay establishment, and that continued over into the Indian Army period with sort of different rules. And like one of these three early on, I think was like all European officers, but the other two were more heavily Indian. And so this was a real hodgepodge of things. So in the previous series we looked at how the Nazis in particular were unifying German language, weights and measurements, and other things that typefaces and other elements sort of, and single codes of laws instead of the Prussian police, which had control around here in Berlin and control in little pockets all over, unifying it under sort of a federal system that was uniform. India was like that, so even if we were to try to put this number of troops of India in here and do revolt risks so that you keep them at home, it would still be a bloody mess, kind of thing. So to understand what was going on, then you need to understand a lot of this stuff and why things were what they were. Okay, submarine class advanced. Sorry about that diatribe, the digression. Okay, well, we've got that. Torpedo auto loading system. Okay, we'll try that. And no, we don't want Vichy. I don't want Vichy France into the. Yeah, we're cleaning this up. Oh, some of these guys. So in my opinion, they're not wrong to do the mechanic of like these revolts, but there was really no revolts like that going on. It's just sort of a way to force you to keep some British troops in places like in India instead of letting them all go to the front to fight the Japanese or the Germans. Okay, well, we got this port. Let's finally, I want to get Khartoum back. I want to remove at least one of their air bases. We still have this guy going up here. I don't think they'll get any supplies that way, but good Air Force. And I know I can be overly critical of some things you'll hear me talk in a few days on the 6th of June about Hearts of Iron 4, but in other things with either mods or the way the games are. And it's just because I'm not really that hypercritical of a person. It's more that I just see, you know, oh, we're helping the South Africans out there. See so much of the history out, and naval HQs. We're not in 42 yet, so we're stopping those for the time being. I'll go there because you can't attack out of Ireland. Waiting for supplies. You're crawling forward. You are militia, I get that. Battle of Penzance is over. Oh, we couldn't continue it because we lost our damn supply capability. Okay. Well, I don't think you're gonna be able to take me, even though you've got a lot of troops. Well, you still got some organization there. Okay, well, since you got that much organization, let's send in more of these units. I hope to keep pushing and keep them on the defensive. Okay, well, I don't see a really good reason not to keep pushing here. Maybe if I brought some air and recon, then I might see a big sledgehammer coming towards me, but for the moment, yeah. Okay, Army Group HQs have advanced, and it looks like we pushed that too far ahead. Next support units, okay, we'll do that. So like I was, I think, starting to say earlier, I like to be ahead, 2 or 3 episodes ahead of what you're seeing, making videos, so that it's still sort of relevant for you to give me advice and suggestions, but and that I don't know the final outcome or whatever of anything too far in advance, at least what you're seeing, so that there can be some interaction between you and me and what's going on. But sometimes, some people will point out you gotta, check your manpower, it's real low or something like that. Well, if I hadn't already caught it an episode or 2 later, it'll still take me a few episodes for me to catch something like that. That's what I like to be. But right now, I've sort of fallen behind, so I'm sort of making them as the day, just because things happen and you get something happens and you can't keep up with posting. So fortunately, I haven't, but I've sort of let things slip a bit, so that I'm making it today, and this evening, my evening here, it'll be up for you guys. So that's sort of where we're at right now. Think I should try again my strategy of invasion of Tobruk again, but with a bigger force, or should I push them out from here? Give me a suggestion. Last time, I think I was 1 armored division and 2 good infantry divisions short of making my Tobruk thing work, and it cost me one of my good units there. Who's that? Armored engineers, not just armored engineers. Okay, so we got that. That's a one-off. Officer recruitment program, we'll like that. And yes, quite honestly, I want to start talking about Hearts of Iron 4 as I'm playing this thing. And no, I'm not saying, I wish I was playing Hearts of Iron. Well, I do wish I was playing Hearts of Iron 4 for you, because I think you'll enjoy some of the stuff. And enjoy some of the stuff I have to say about it, but it's not... So I know I could say a few things that wouldn't be saying too much, but then where do I stop? So it becomes a little bit the problem. I want to get all this shut down as quickly as I can. I'm hoping to get that Cornish battle done so I can get some troops out to the far east. Before Japan starts rolling over me down there. Okay, mass assault. Good, useful, but just a morale boost. Let's see. Let's do that. That'll be better. No, actually, elastic defense would be better. What else is too far ahead? Okay, yeah, engineer unit training also. Came up, okay, that's useful. Get that stopped. And let's go back down here for some doctrines. Oh, good. Let's see. You guys are playing quick. Let's get into cartoon. Medicine is advanced. Good. That'll someday benefit all mankind. What would we do without wars? Let's get steel production improved. And yes, mostly our preparing for war can do most of this stuff, but still you sort of kind of need war to push you over the edge a bit, to really push some of the technologies forward. Now, of course, once you go from fighting on a big battlefield like Waterloo or whatever like that and start blowing countries apart, it can become counterproductive in the sense of whatever benefit you may get out of wars from development and whatnot. isn't worth it maybe compared to the losses that you get. No, I'm not a warmonger. I think you'd know that if you've watched much of the series that I make. But a lot of times you don't have a choice. It's not like a boxing match where it takes two. No. You can be peacefully going down the street and someone's going to hit you over the head. Or you can be peacefully living out your country and be Denmark and just be in the way of Germany getting to Norway, and they decide to invade you. So just being in the way sometimes. You don't have a choice about that. I hope they're exhausting themselves. Well, it's been my experience, though. Okay, we need to get you... Let's get you... Stop to go back to your home base and repair. In my experience, the AI does not do air supply. Even if it has the everything. So they're going to start running out of supply at some point. Maybe not as quick as I'll like it, but at some point they will. Okay, fuselage aerodynamics. Now where are we? Oh, up here. Of course. Okay, we're not going to build any nukes, I don't think. Maybe if the war lasts long enough or something, you guys may talk me into it, but not at the moment. Let's improve radar efficiency, that would be good. And like I was saying, I think in the last episode, my current plans are to keep playing this series so long as there are reasonable viewing numbers, or until the series, of course, ends for some reason. Either I'm defeated, or Germany's defeated, or some sort of thing like that. Okay. You can see I'm building massive amounts of air, which will continue to reduce the cost of the air. Let's do one more naval bomber. I want to just win the skies, at least over Germany and my other possessions. And we have a couple of divisions here. Okay, the 1st Commando Battalion now. Let's put them over here. What armor division HQs do we have here? Okay, I think that will do. I want to win the skies. Clear out the enemies and... Like I was saying, sorry, I'm thinking about 2 or 3 things while I'm playing this. If the numbers stay good, I'll keep going here. Though I'm going to start doing a bunch of Hearts of Iron 4 videos as well. Including, of course, a German playthrough. You can hear my take, and I have been watching some of the other Let's Play series of some of them. I won't mention names, but I guess I can... some of them may be just that they're more EU4 players, and I've watched a few of them play EU4, and they I think do excellent, better than I do. Know it, and I couldn't match their skills there, so I'm not criticizing their skills as a computer game strategist. It's to some degree, I think, it's some of that, and that they're fairly new to Hearts of Iron 4. One guy was, I've got 40 hours. Okay, yeah, I got more than that. Not much more than that on it, but still, even before that, I was doing things considerably different. So I'll, do a German playthrough, and you guys can watch me do that, but I'll also do a general review, and then sort of a review for you Black Ice players to sort of see what I have to say, and I'm itching to say it, because there's a bunch of conversations going on, and I want to jump in. Guess I'm hyping it a little bit, and that's cool. Okay. Single aircraft engine, is that what my... Yeah, single... Oh, airframe. Airframe, okay, it's that one. I was thinking engine. Okay. Thinking more here. Let's get coal, because we're still in the red there. Coal processing technology is going. Okay, these guys have already achieved that goal. Uh-oh. Well, they're about done, I think, maybe. Maybe not. Major defeat. Oh well. Oh good, we have Khartoum back. We're across the Nile there. We'll wait till we get somebody across there. We'll just hold Khartoum for the moment. I think the coal here, because of course they've made it more coal now, but his energy is the hydroelectric dams or something there maybe. More strategic. They're militia. They move very slow. Their attack speed is also very slow. Okay, well I think we're going to end the episode there. So, check back tomorrow for more of this, and we'll see you in the future with lots of great things, hopefully. Yeah, see you next time.